welcome back. So you guys always see us working our 07 Duramax. Well, little did you guys know, we actually own a 2020 GT50. That is correct. And today we're gonna be installing something that I hope that you guys find very interesting. So we're actually gonna be installing drilled and slotted rotors with ceramic pads. So if this is a video you guys are looking for, well, stay tuned. But with nothing else being said, let's get into it. All right guys, so after you take your wheel and tire off, you want to go ahead and pop out these two bolts on the back side of the caliper. Those are a 15mm socket. So depending if you're on a lift or not, you might have to use something to break that loose, whether it's like a breaker bar or something. But after you break that loose, it should be pretty easy to take off. There we go. And then you should be able just to get your hand back there and get those babies off. There we go. And then you want to take it off. And because of your brake lines that currently run right here, you don't want to just drop that, because then you will start breaking stuff and maybe cause more problems than you want to have. So what you guys want to do once you get the caliper off, you have two pins that run through your calipers here, or through your brake pads. What you want to do is take off this, there's like a metal pin right here that runs through that basically holds these in place. You want to go ahead and remove that, so you can then take these pins out and then just push them out. So you want to use something small. I'm just gonna use an Allen and a hammer here, and then basically all you want to do is just tap those out. Yeah, they should come out. There you go. And then after your pins are out, you should be able just to slide these pads right on through. So there was one, and then the other one fell out when we pushed the pins out, so there's two. Now what you want to do is you got 4 pistons here. You'll have 4 in the front, and I think 1 or 2 in the rear. We'll get to that here in a minute. But basically what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take these and push them back side to side. That way you can fit your new pads in. So you want to take your old pad and the compressor tool and get that finessed in there to a way to where you can now split those pistons outwards. That way you can put your new pads in. So you just take like a wrench, anything that you have maybe, and then just go to town with it, and then you should be able to just turn pretty easy. And like I said, you're gonna see those pistons pull out, and then all you gonna do is just take it back loose, and the pistons will stay where they're at, and you should be good to go. This right here should come out pretty easily like that. And then take your old pad, slide that baby out. Now we're ready for the new ones. All right, so the fun part begins. Now you just want to take a hammer and just beat around this rotor to break it loose, because it's pretty tight on there. So you just want to just go around it. Slide it right off. All right, so you want to take these 2 pins that run through your brake pads that hold it in place, and just literally just clean off the surface rust. You can use brake cleaner, you can use a 3M pad, whichever one you want to do, and just take off the surface rust. It'll just help you in the long run when you're putting everything back together. You just want to do a quick spray down. Go. That way it just slides in easier. All right, so you want to get your new pads. You want to go ahead and lubricate the ends of it. That way when you're sliding it back into the caliper, it's just a lot easier for you. You're not having to fight it as much. So you want to make sure your alignment on these are correct in which way that they actually go into the caliper, because you definitely don't want to put those in wrong. All right, so now you want to just slide the pin back through the new brake pad into the caliper. This right here just hold the pads in place. Get that side put in, and then you got the second one that goes in the back side. Should slide in pretty easy. And then we want to line it up. So it's actually going to sit right here. The hook is actually going to go in the part right here where it actually holds it itself. And then you just want to turn these in a way to where it actually just holds those pins where they need to be. So you might need to work with this a little bit, but if you turn these just right, it should slide right in. Now you want to put this bracket on. It just holds everything in place. So you want to get one side in, the back side first, and then you just want to just hit this hard enough, and there you go. All right, so then you want to get your new rotor here. So it comes pre-oiled already for shipment purposes and stuff like that, so it doesn't rust. You want to clean that off before you put it on. So take yourself some brake cleaner, and you want to just go ahead and get that soaked pretty good and get it wiped off before you mount it. All right, now we should be ready to put it back on. on the studs and make sure it slides all the way back. And then you just want to take a lug nut and hold it in place. The reason for this is that you got to reinstall the caliper back on the rotor, and you don't want this moving around when you're trying to do it. So it'll be a bad day if that happens. So you want to just make sure it's set back where it needs to be before you should feel it go back. And then this right here, you want to tighten down all the way, hand tight, and then now you're ready to install the caliper back on it. All right, so now just take your caliper and you want to work your way back onto the rotor and just kind of just wiggle that in there and it will line itself up. Now the bolts that go in it, usually people put like Loctite and stuff on it. That helps you when you want to take them back off in the long run, but just make sure if you want to put Loctite on it, that's cool. And then you just want to just put these back through, at least get them both started, that way it holds it in place before you start tightening them. All right, so before you put your wheel tire on, remember the lug nut that you put on there. You want to go ahead and remove that first, and then you should be good just to mount your wheel and tire back on. All right guys, so moving on to the rear, we have a 10mm socket. You actually want to remove this brake line bracket first before getting to the calipers. This is just going to help you be able to move around a little bit easier. So break this loose here. Now we're moving on to these bolts here. There should be it should be a 14mm socket. Take this bracket off here. That way you can move on to the 18 mils that actually hold the caliper itself. So this small bracket right here is what you're trying to get off. So I need to play around with it a little bit for it to come out. Once it comes out, you can remove this bracket right here. And that right there should also release your brake pads. So you can go ahead and get those removed as well. Get those set back. There you go, take those off. Take your pads off. Not bad. Now we move on to the actual caliper bracket. Those would be an upper and a lower 18mm socket. And then once you break that loose, you should be able to get those spun off. Once you get the caliper off, you want to now take off these brake shims here and replace them. So those should pull off fairly easy, not too bad. And then you got the new ones here. Let's see here. And these right here just go right back on like this, and they should just snap right into place. There we go, and there we go. Do that to both sides. Some people do lubricate these before putting them on just to help yourself a little bit, but since these are pretty easy to put on, there's no need for it. But we will lubricate these before we actually put the pads back on this. It just helps the pad just mount a little bit easier. So on the rears, it's got an e-brake system on the driver passenger side, of course. So you need a special tool. You can get these at AutoZone, Advanced Auto, whichever one. Usually AutoZone will have it. It's just a little device here that you actually can connect to your e-brake. And this right here is going to take it just like the front end with the pistons. It's just going to drive that backwards. That way you can put your new calipers in a lot easier. I do not recommend using anything else but this tool because you don't want to ruin anything and then you have to buy a new caliper, and you know how that process goes. So if you want to not spend a lot of money on a new caliper, definitely go to AutoZone, Advanced Auto, and you can actually rent these for up to 90 days, they say, which hopefully you don't need it for that long. But once you get that twisted back far enough, you should be able to get those new brake pads right in. All right, so just like the front, guys, you want to go ahead and just pop that rotor loose for it to slide it right off. There you go. Took a few hits. Some of you guys might do in the first one. Just like the front, these come pre-oiled, so you want to go ahead and get brake cleaner and clean the front and backs of the rotors before you put them on. Here we go. Make sure it sits all the way flush, just like that. And then you want to take your lug, just like the front, and get it put on. Once you get your rotors back on, you want to go ahead and put your caliper bracket back on. So you got two 18mm bolts. You want to go ahead and reinstall those. Now, I would suggest don't tighten the top one all the way yet until you get the bottom one tight, and then you can work your way back up. More it's a little bit easier and it's easily accessible to do it that way. And then get the top one snugged up. You want to go snug and then just a little bit. Right there. Once you get that bracket back on, you're ready for the pads. Now, again, make sure you know what side these go on. That way you don't have to figure out in the long run which way they actually do go. You want to go ahead and get that correct. And also you want to go ahead and lubricate the ends. That way when you slide it back into the bracket, it just helps you a little bit easier to get that put back in. There we go. Got the backs in. Now we're going to put the front in. There we go. Now once that's in, now we're able to take the bracket itself and get that position back onto the pads. All right, something to note as well, these slide pins here, you want to go ahead and pull those out and lubricate them. Hold the boot, pop them out. There's one, and then you got the lower one as well. Hold the boot, pull that baby out, and then now that's lubricated, go ahead and reinstall that, and you should push in like that. You hear it click, and then just work it a little bit, make sure it's working correctly on the front, on the top and bottom right here, and then you hear it click right there, and then you're good. Work it. There you go. And then go ahead and reinstall your bracket. And then you want to take your 14 millimeter bolts and reinstall them, and hit the bottom side too. Grab your 14 millimeter socket, and then go ahead and get those tightened up. So after you get all of the rotors and pads put on your car, you want to now break the pads in. So what you want to do is take this up and down the street, wherever you guys live at, go between the 40 to 50 mile mark, and you want to hit the brakes really hard. What that's going to do is basically break your pads into the rotors and kind of get it worked in a little bit. That way you don't have issues further down the line. But with nothing else being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.